Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Dr. Trisha Rampersad, the core behavioral psychologist. And today I have Beverly Chase. Beverly Chase is an award-winning television news executive with over 2 decades of experience in the industry, working across a variety of projects, including scripted, non-scripted, and feature and short-form documentaries. She has produced and edited hundreds of hours of television. Previously a producer and editor at NBC News for 15 years, Beverly has worked on critically acclaimed programs, including Nightly News, Today, Dateline, Saturday Night Live, as well as working as an Olympics feature editor on location in Torino, Vancouver, and Beijing. She's produced and edited for high-profile projects in NBC's news division, including fast-turn breaking news specials ranging from natural disasters such as the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina and the Indian Ocean Tsunami, to international crises like the global recession and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Beverly has also worked on productions for PBS, History, A&E, Discovery, MTV, and a number of other feature documentary projects. At Vice, Beverly has produced across news magazine series Vice on HBO, Investigations by Vice on Hulu, and most recently, Vice on Showtime. As an executive producer and showrunner of Vice on Showtime, she serves as the lead creative voice behind each episode, overseeing the series of vision and leading the show's process from pitch through the final episode. Her work has earned her 5 Primetime Emmy nominations, 9 news and documentary Emmy wins, 2 Peabodys, and 2 DuPont Awards. She also received a Gracie Award. I'd like to welcome her again, and she just got promoted. It was in Variety magazine to Vice President of Current Programming and Development for Vice News and Vice World News. And it's amazing to have you.
Oh my God, that was a lot.
That was a lot, but thank you for coming and being patient.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you.
I'm so excited because me and Beverly went to school together too, which is pretty awesome.
We did.
We did. And I think
choir. We did choir day. We had choir days.
we did choir in Roxbury High School. And now she's a very successful Emmy Award-winning VP. And I'm really good to have her here. Where are you from and where did you grow up?
I grew up in Sakasana, right where Roxbury High School is. I lived in the same house that I was, when I was born, from when I was born until I went to college, in Boston. So that's been my whole Morris County life.
Yes, Morris County, New Jersey, Sakasana, New Jersey. We are Jersey girls. And how was that going into Boston? Which school did you go to?
I went to Boston University.
Nice.
I loved getting out of Sakasana. I love it there. It's a great place to grow up. But I remember when it was time to look at schools, I was really excited about the idea of being in a city. So I think Boston, there was just so many different possible options, in terms of like what I really wanted to do. So I was like, get me to a city, any city.
Well,
and I'm still in the city. So.
Oh, you live in the city? Which one, Boston or New York?
No, New York City now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I went.
Go ahead.
I just went straight back. I went straight from Boston to New York City, and I think I'll be here forever.
Nice. Question. What was your major in school for you to be at this point in your career?
I was a film production major. And I've always wanted to study film. I think I realized I wanted to be an editor in like 6th grade. I think I did some school project where I attached 2 VCRs to each other and was like recording and playing and editing my own little movies at home. And somehow my parents let me major in film without having any sort of idea of what I could possibly do with my degree when I graduated, and no connections. But yeah.
Then how did that work out once you graduated with no connections? How did you end up getting into television, or what was like your first job in media?
I like to say that I sort of snuck in. My first job was an internship that I had at the very end of school at a company called Avid Technology. And Avid is the software that at the time, almost every single film and television company was using to edit their movies. So I basically treated that internship as like grad school. So my goal was to learn everything I could about the software that was like the premium software at the time, so that when I could graduate and get an editing job, I would not be limited at all by the technology, because I know that that's like could be a stumbling point. I just wanted to be able to like be as creative as I could be without being like, what does this button do? And how can I make this happen? I just wanted to sort of instinctively know how to do it all.
Yeah.
So I worked at Avid, and then I graduated and got a job at Avid, and I continued to work there in technical support. So my first real job out of college was answering the phones for like film and television companies who are working on like major projects, and talking to them and helping them troubleshoot their edit machines. So
Wow.
that was,
You were
yeah,
like, you were part of the Geek Squad, the original Geek.
total Geek Squad, like as Geek Squad as it gets.
But you got to start somewhere. Imagine that.
Right?
Yeah, you're like a technical support. Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
That's
Technical support,
cool. That's
like
so
off total
awesome.
office space, right out of office space. And I have so many good friends that I started with at Avid at that time that we're still really close with, even all these years and jobs later. So it was a great, great, great experience.
That's so awesome. How long were you there for?
I was there for, I want to say about a year and a half after college. I ended up moving to New York. I left tech support. Well, I got a job as a tech support engineer in a post facility in New York. So that
Okay.
was like my next job. And I was basically like, I ran around to different edit suites at this very fancy post house, and was like helping the editors in real life in person.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going back to Avid after I left that job and working in their courseware development. So I was like writing course books for the Avid classes who would like teach you how to edit.
That's
So I just went right back. I loved it. I loved that experience so much there, and which
that's
is
so
great.
awesome. You went back to Boston to work?
Nope,
Yeah.
they let me work remotely, so I stayed in New York, and it was like a very early days remote work experiment,
You were
but I really loved it. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So then from there, what was your first big break, I should say, where you were able to break into television and media?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I actually ended up getting laid off from my job at Avid with like there was a mass company-wide layoff, and it was devastating because I just loved that job so much. I felt like they broke up with me.
Oh, I'm so
But it was like
sorry.
me and a bunch of other people. It wasn't just me,
Right.
but it was like it was a great experience because it forced me to take that next step and actually do what I wanted to do, which was edit. So I was basically unemployed, trying to figure out, I had no idea how to get a real editing job. So I just basically sent my resume to a bazillion different post houses all over New York City.
Yeah.
And then I went to one job interview in Times Square at this post facility called Additional Effects. And it was just an interview for a job. And while I was there for the interview, one of the editors called in sick,
Right.
and they had asked me to just fill in on the spot. And I had never run an edit before. I'd never done anything. And I had my first edit session by total accident. And it was for Dora the Explorer promos for
Right.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
And I remember finishing
Awesome.
the session. It was really fun. I finished the session, and I remember turning around to the producer behind me, and I was like, "Was that okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, that was great. It was totally fine." And I was like, "Oh my God, it was my first time." And from then I just freelanced, and it was great. It was scary as a freelancer because it was still
Right.
like trying to figure out your next job in the middle of the job you had. It was like very anxiety inducing and
Right.
stressful. And it ended up like I overworked myself in those few years that I was freelancer because I was always afraid to stop. So I never really took a break or took a vacation or took time off because I kept thinking like, what if nobody hires me again to do this?
Oh, wow.
So
It
yeah, it was
sounds
really
like
stressful.
did you have any burnout during that time because you kept working and kept going?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't stopped since that time.
Get you rest.
So I know. I mean, I don't know. I'm a very driven person, and I don't take enough time off. That's probably my
Yeah,
biggest flaw.
right.
But I didn't really burn out because I love it so much. And even now, even when I take time off, I sort of miss it, which is
Right.
probably unhealthy. I don't know. You could tell me more about it as the
We can
expert
talk
in that
more about
department. But
it after.
yeah.
I always say if you, well, first of all, right place, right time. Hello, Dora the Explorer. That's phenomenal. And I always say if you do what you love, honestly, like your passion, you never feel like you never have to work a day in your life again. It doesn't feel like
True.
work, you know? But it sounds like you found your calling, what you love to do, which is phenomenal. It's just that we
Yeah.
want to be mindful of any burnout.
I
Okay.
know. I know. You and me both. We're
Now
getting there.
you're nominated for an Emmy or two now again.
Mm, yeah,
That's
so currently our show was nominated for the third time. We've had 3 seasons of our show on Showtime. So this is our third nomination in the category of outstanding hosted nonfiction.
oh wow.
Yeah, it's like really exciting. So we're nominated for that, and those Emmys are in a couple weeks. And then we're also nominated for 5 news and documentary Emmys for a special that we made for Showtime that aired almost exactly a year ago on the US withdrawal from Afghanistan,
Oh,
called Return of the Taliban. So we're technically my team is up for 6 Emmys, and then across the whole Vice News division, they were nominated for 33 other news and documentary Emmys. So
congratulations.
it's
I'm
a lot.
proud of you. This is pretty
Thank
it's
you.
phenomenal. My choir buddy, one of my choir people.
Oh, I know, it's
Proud of
crazy. It's
you.
crazy.
Yeah. It's awesome. But if you need a break or anything, you can always pick your favorite hobbies. If it's swimming, biking, maybe meditation, that kind of thing, just to help
Mhm.
you, relax on some days, maybe do a spa day or something.
Yeah,
Lots of
that's what I need.
self-care, that kind of stuff is really good for you. But I mean, I can see where your work has taken you. Was there a piece of maybe a piece of work you've done that you're most proud of? You've done phenomenal things. But
Aw.
was there one? Yeah, was there one that really stuck out to you as best? If
I
you
would have to say this hour special that we did, that the Afghanistan withdrawal special, was probably one of the hardest but most rewarding projects I've ever worked on. I mean, I felt like at the time we basically had, I want to say, 3 weeks to put the entire hour together. And it's something that probably should have taken a year of
wow.
planning. And it just so happened that we had 4 correspondents deployed in 4 different countries during the withdrawal efforts in Kabul. And they were just so in the thick of it. And it was like we had so much good material that we had to figure out how to use it. So not editing anymore. Now I'm a showrunner. I was able to like pull together a team. We had about, I think, 50-ish people working on it.
Right.
And it was like an orchestra. It's like every single person had a job to do that was so important. And we were all working literally 24/7 to make this the best thing that we could make.
Right.
And I think in the end, every single person on the team was exhausted. Like people, it happened over Labor Day weekend. So people canceled vacations. Like everybody just cared
Yeah.
so deeply about the story.
Right.
Um, and it was just like all of our work has led us to that point. And so that's why when we got all those nominations for it, we were all just like, oh, it was like this one of
Yeah.
all the things like everybody poured their heart into.
Yeah.
And we're just all really proud of how it turned out.
That's so awesome. And this is the one that that you guys are nominated for that's coming up.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I'm so excited for you. Now, were you on location there too for that or?
No, I was basically like making all the things happen because we were all still remote. I mean, the we haven't really gone back to a office, full-time office sort of workflow. So,
Right.
we had teams feeding in footage from Afghanistan and Qatar, and I'm trying to remember where else people were. I think Turkey. Um, It was somewhere else. Now I'm drawing a blank, but everybody was feeding in this footage simultaneously. We had a team of 5 editors working on it. And then we were like simultaneously weaving a narrative through line through it. So it just didn't feel like 4 different stories that we like attached together.
What was the
So
name of that again? So in case if people want to watch it.
it was, yeah, it was called Return of the Taliban, and
Sure.
it's available on Showtime, like on the apps,
Okay.
streaming, all that stuff.
That's so awesome. That's good.
Yeah, it's really good. I have to say,
I would imagine you
really.
guys all got close together too. You have good.
Oh yeah, we have a very, very close team. It's like a little family. A lot of us have worked together since I started at Vice 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And we're all like in the trenches together all the time. And really, everybody is just so passionate about what we do and the stories that we're telling that I think it kind of creates a little bit of a family dynamic in a way that's special, I think.
I think that's awesome. One of the stories that you all did was you got the Prime Minister of Guyana on.
Yeah, Vice President.
The Vice
Yeah.
President of Guyana that came on, and some of my listeners are Guyanese and Guyanese Americans or what have you. And I'm wondering, how on earth did you all end up getting a meeting, even getting him on?
Yeah.
I saw
Well,
some.
we interview quite a few really high-ranking presidents, and we've interviewed Obama before when he was current president. I think with this story, they basically were just really dogged. The team put in request after request after request, and it's just a matter of like asking a million times and not giving up until they were able to get that access, which
Oh,
is pretty much the case with a lot of the stories that we do.
okay. Okay. That's awesome. And you interviewed President Obama. Awesome.
I mean, I didn't personally
I
interview him,
mean, your people did.
but yeah,
She's very clear that I didn't personally do it, but she's
yeah,
one of the head people of the stories of Vice, which is pretty awesome. Do you
yeah.
have any upcoming projects that you guys are
Oh,
working on, or are you guys just brainstorming at this point?
well, no, we're still right smack in the middle of making our season. So we are on the air right now with season 3. We're about halfway through the second half. We basically are, each season is comprised of 16 episodes,
Right.
and the season is bifurcated. So we do 8 episodes and then we take a break and then we do another 8. We had a very short break this time, but
Right.
sometimes it's longer. So we just finished airing last week. A really great episode aired about drill music and how the higher you get up with drill rap in the industry, the more dangerous it becomes. Because it's all like actual gangster, it's like people within gangs that are making the music, and a
Yeah.
lot of what they rap about is like beefs with other gang members. So because of that, they're sort of targeted the higher they get up in the industry. So that's one of the episodes. And then the second half, every episode is made up of 2 different stories. So the second story in that takes place in the Philippines. And talking about how now that Bongbong Marcos Jr. is in power, what does that mean in terms of holding the administration accountable for like martial law under his father?
Right.
Yeah, it's a really interesting look at what the election means and how they got to that point and the role that disinformation played in that election, which is really interesting because it looks a lot like what we've seen here. So that's a fascinating episode that just aired on Sunday. And then next week's episode, which is airing this Sunday night, we shot in Sri Lanka during the revolution that's happening right now because of an economic crisis where they sort of overthrew the president, and he
Right.
he escaped. And the second story in that episode is Isabel Young, who was the host of the Guyana piece.
Right.
Isabel goes to the Amazon in Brazil to look for American missionaries and who are trying to meet with undocumented, uncontacted tribes there
Right.
and convert them to evangelical.
That's so interesting. I went to
Yeah.
Amazon and I was a short-term missionary in Brazil in the Amazon. Yeah, I was a
Wow.
couple years ago. It was quite the experience. Oh,
Yeah.
and I went to the Philippines as well, and
Wow.
different areas. Yeah, it's very different. I highly recommend people travel and
Yeah.
go overseas and learn about different cultures and what have you. I mean, this is awesome that you all came up with these different stories that are so impactful worldwide. It's just you're making a difference, a huge difference, you know.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah,
feel really good about the stories that we're telling and the why we're telling them too. It's not for like shock value or to be salacious. I think we always look for stories that can touch, even with our international stories, that they're stories that touch people in the US because we air only domestically.
yeah, yeah. I think it's very open-minded and that's phenomenal. If someone wanted to get into the industry that you're in documentaries and what have you, what advice do you have for them?
My first piece of advice that I always tell people when they're interested in this is learn how to edit. I think that that is really the crux of being a great storyteller is if and it's also a good way for you to know what you need out of a story, and when you aren't the one that's putting the story together, it's easy to sort of miss some
Right.
moments that you know you need. So I always find that the best producers are people who know how to edit. And the other thing is to just be like curious about the world and about people and talk to people and ask a million questions and get to know everybody's backstories. I think are really, finding out where people come from and why they may engage in certain behaviors that they do. So yeah, learn how to edit and be curious.
I love that. I love that. What editing software do you recommend? Because with social media and
Ooh,
everything, yeah, with social media and everything, like people are doing their own thing online. And if, let's say, if they don't want to be on television, but they want to do something online, what do you think is the best? Or you have a couple recommendations?
I have a couple recommendations. I mean, for me, I came up using Avid. I obviously got
Yeah.
my start there. I used to say that if you purple was the color of Avid. I used to say like if you cut me, I'll bleed Avid purple.
Oh,
But I had at Vice we use Adobe Premiere.
mm-hmm.
And it's pretty much taking over. I know there's still a lot of Avid projects out there, but I think Premiere is definitely on
Premiere.
equal footing now. Yeah, Adobe Premiere.
So,
Adobe Premiere is what my son is learning how to edit on, and
nice.
he's 13, so he's like doing little tutorials and trying to figure that out. So it's very intuitive and powerful.
That's so awesome. So let me talk about your personal life a bit. Okay.
Okay,
So you
sure.
have a son, he's 13. That's
He's
awesome.
13. Yep.
How do
He's
you,
at sleepaway camp.
oh, nice. How do you balance work life, being a mom, all that good stuff? What
I do a terrible job of it for starters,
I'm sure
but
you
I
don't.
no, he's the best. It's really hard. It's really hard to do everything all at once and be really great at everything all at once. So I think uh being kind to yourself and knowing that you're doing your best and not, when you either have to miss a meeting at work in order to do something with your family or like go to a band concert or something like that, don't be
Right.
hard on yourself. Or at the same time, if I like miss an appointment for him and have to, reschedule for some other reason, it's just like never be too hard on yourself, I think is the best, is my sort of mentality on all things, and knowing my limits and boundaries. Like I don't agree to do things that I know I can't really give my all to.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's how I kind of make it work, I guess. And sleepaway
Sleepaway camp.
camp. Send them away for 8 weeks. No,
That's
it's good for him.
yeah. So basically being kind to yourself and setting boundaries. That's really,
Yes.
those are good, great self-care tips right there. You
Yeah.
know,
I'm very big into personal boundaries and not pushing yourself and to a point where you're uncomfortable with something that you're doing.
right. exactly.
Yeah.
So what's it like living in New York City? Yeah.
I love living in New York City. My husband and I, also recently got a place upstate, during the pandemic, just because
Yeah.
living in this tiny, apartment where we were all working and going to school at the same time was too much for us.
Right.
So we do split time now, a little bit, and spend our weekends upstate. But I love coming every time we have a nice weekend up there. I love coming back to the busyness of the city. And we're in Brooklyn, so we're not. I used to live in like Midtown, which is a different beast, but we're in a really quiet neighborhood in Brooklyn. And
Nice.
just I love being out, restaurants, everybody's outside. Like, it just gives you so much energy, and you
It's a
know,
different vibe in Brooklyn for sure.
totally different vibe.
Different
Some
vibe.
people hate it. Not Brooklyn, but the city living. And they come to the city and they are like, get me out of here. But
Yeah. But you've been there for a while now.
yeah,
And
I've lived in New York City for almost 23 years. Ever
yeah.
since I graduated, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know how long has it been since we graduated.
Been a
I
while.
lost count. I lost count.
I'm not gonna say,
Yeah.
but
Like 5 years ago. 5 years
yeah,
ago, we'll
just
just say.
5 years. Just 5 years. Do you get to come back to Jersey at all? Is your family still here or?
My dad passed away when I was about 30, so it's been a while. And my mom is actually she's suffering from dementia and lives in a memory care facility in New Jersey. So I go out to visit her. But beyond those visits, I don't really get to spend a lot of time in Jersey.
Yeah. I'm so sorry to hear
Yeah,
about your dad and your mom.
no.
So
It's
sorry.
okay. It's really hard. It's really difficult when you get to this point in life where you have young kids and you have, aging parents, and your career and your job. It's very stressful. So I
Yeah.
know so many people that are going through the same thing right now.
Yeah, it's something else seeing your parents or grandparents age and you're balancing your own life as well. It can be
Mhm.
heart-wrenching at times, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love how it's nice and bright and sunny in your apartment. So
Yes.
10 to 15 minutes of sunlight a day is really, really good for you. Just putting it out there, you know.
Yes. I do not get a lot of sunlight as an editor, but I make a point to do it now. Now I try to run in the mornings just to sort of clear my head. That's my number one self-care, sun time. Nothing crazy, but just to get
Yeah.
some air into my life before the day starts.
For sure. Running is great exercise. It's really good for you. You know, it gets all your
Mhm.
happy hormones going, your dopamine, serotonin, all that good stuff,
Totally.
endorphin, you
And
know.
I never ran. I was never ever a runner until my friend, really the pandemic, I think, was what started it. I
I
never thought I would be someone who likes running.
I think the pandemic woke a lot of people up and had them start doing hobbies or things that they never really tried before. I think that part was good. And even brought families closer together, which was pretty good. And now you got a place in upstate New York, which is phenomenal. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good to have that. It's good. It's a work in progress.
Nice.
But
I,
yeah, it's good to we love hiking, or we do a lot of hiking as a family. And my son doesn't like it as much because his computer's not up there. But
the
but
kids,
it's good to give him a break from the screens on the weekend.
yes, be in nature. That's always helpful.
Hmm.
Taking a break from technology is really good too. It's
Exactly.
really good. Yeah. Beverly, I want to thank you so much for coming on. You're amazing.
Oh, you're amazing. This is so fun.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, and if someone wanted to contact you, do you give out an email or anything or not really?
I don't give out my email on podcasts typically, but you can find me. I mean, I keep my Instagram private, but I am on Twitter, and people can always like send me a DM. I'm just at Beverly Chase.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't tweet a lot, but I'm trying to get better. I love to promote the show, which is the
That's
bulk of it, but
awesome. No, that's great. I think that's great. If people tweet you maybe with a question or two, you're open to answering it and you
Of
promote that.
course, yeah.
Yes. Advice is just so impactful. It's amazing.
Oh, thank
It
you.
really is. Yeah, yeah. It was really good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
And I just want to thank you again. And everyone, thank you for listening. I'm Dr. Trisha Rampersad, the core behavioral psychologist, and I'll see you next time. Bye.